Hey guys, this video we're going to talk about some misconceptions we get about buying land in central Kentucky. We have kind of the same call all the time. It's typically you want to move from the city, come to the central Kentucky area, and then buy 5 acres and have a couple of horses and maybe some chickens, something of that nature. And we want to do it for like $200 to $250. Now, honestly, like depending on where you want to be as far as like location, as far as like amenities, like places to eat, shopping, grocery store other than a Dollar General, that's kind of tough to do. It really doesn't exist. And so I want to go through some of the misconceptions and then maybe give you some things to keep an open mind about if you want to do this. And so let's get to it. The first thing, we get this call like, hey, I want to buy 10 acres. I want to be close to town, 200 to 250. That really doesn't exist. But if you kind of think about it and kind of come into this with an open mind, we can probably find you, maybe depending how far out of town you want to be, we might be able to find you 3 to 5 acres for under 300, and it will kind of do what you needed to do. A lot of times people get this idea of like, I want to have, this small hobby farm, I want a bunch of animals. And I think when you're coming from the city, unless you've really been around that, I think people kind of fail to realize like how much work that really is. And look, if you want to do it, great. It's why we live here. It's how I grew up. It's awesome. And I appreciate that lifestyle. But let's kind of keep an open mind of like, let's be kind of a little more realistic, if you will, or more, not realistic, but reasonable as far as like what we really want to do and what kind of time and effort you want to put into it and what you want your life to really look like once you get here. So you might come to Kentucky and have the idea of a horse. And we'll just use horse because this is horses, because this is horse country. And I think when you come in, like you can actually live in like an acre, or have like an acre or maybe 2 acres and have like a little more space between you and your neighbors. And then you can have horses and like board them at a boarding place, and which is really, if you're not like astute in equestrian type stuff, would be what I recommend, because then you have like riding arenas and places to ride your horses. You've got someone there to kind of take care of them and keep them fed. And then if you want to go on vacation, you can go on vacation and your horses are looked after. And so like if you kind of come into like what you want your land purchase to look like in Kentucky, if you are a little more open-minded about things, then it gives you a lot more options. The second call we get a lot is, I want to move to Kentucky and I want to buy 50 acres and build a bunch of houses. Not a bunch, but I want to build some 3, 4, 5 houses, whatever, on my farm for my family to live in. And I think that's possible to do, depending, again, it goes back to location and zoning requirements, things of that nature that you can kind of look into. But you're really going to take you, it's going to take you maybe a couple of years to find the right piece of ground that you can put a road in and then get all your septic systems and all your utilities in. Because I'm going to be honest with you, like if you want to go down that road, then you essentially have to do a development that the county will approve. And that's whether it's a county with or without zoning, because the last thing the county want to see is a development that gets started and never gets finished. Maybe you get in the middle of this project and you decide you want to go back where you come from, and that does happen. And me and Valerie have moved off, and we've actually decided we need to go back where we come from. Now, again, if you're open-minded, maybe we can find you, like, traffic's not a thing here. I mean, it is a thing, but it's not like probably what you're used to. And so like we might be able to find some houses with some acreage within 10, 15 miles of each other. And you're like, oh my God, it's 10 or 15 miles, but I mean, that's like a 10 or 15 minute drive most places in Kentucky. And if you kind of go into it with that train of thought, then it gives you a lot more options to kind of get moved and settled quicker, and you don't have to develop a neighborhood, which is a lot of work, I'm going to be honest. Another kind of misconception I think people have about Kentucky is like, there's not a lot of people here, and there's really not. We get the call like, hey, can you recommend a small town for us, or we want to be in a something with shopping or close to town or quiet town, that's convenient to the amenities, but can you recommend a like small town quiet place? I think that's pretty much about everywhere in Kentucky, minus the 2 big cities, Louisville and Lexington. I want to point to Valerie's video of Central Kentucky Explained. It kind of talks about the size of the towns, but like a lot of our counties are pretty similar. And so I don't know, like if you look at Kentucky, there's 128 counties in the entire state, and none of them are very big. And so they all have county seats, and they all have, the county seat will typically have the courthouse in the middle of the circle, and then they'll have like a lot of mom and pop shops around the squares. And then as soon as you get a block or 2 away, you're kind of in whatever that town looks like. And then you get a half-mile down the road and you're out in the country. And that is most of Kentucky's quiet, small town county seats. And so Like I grew up in Meade County, and Meade County is a very quiet small town. We didn't have the circle because our town actually got knocked down in the 70s because of a tornado. But like we had one high school, one middle school, a bunch of elementary schools, and we got a McDonald's in like 93. And so when I was in high school, and that was a big deal. And so what I'm saying all that to say is like it still has one McDonald's and one high school and one middle school, and like it's a quiet small town. And then you can go to the county next door, it's the same thing. And so it more becomes of like where do you want to live. And so I'm saying all that to say is like throw a dart and you'll kind of get to where you want to go as far as a quiet small town, so long as you don't hit the big two. So I don't think it's like we get a lot of misconceptions as far as like, well, we want to be somewhere quiet. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much everywhere. And so I think people kind of are used to coming from a city where like neighborhoods are defined by maybe you got a higher crime area part of town or this other stuff, and we really just don't have that here. I mean, crime is a thing everywhere, but it's not nearly like it is in some other places, especially central Kentucky. So I would love to carry out this conversation with you some more. Our contact information is in the link below. It's got our website. Just click on our website. You can contact us there. There's a relocation guide. It's also in the About section. Look forward to hearing from you. I hope everyone's doing well. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you real soon.